74 and part 6. Way to go, Karate Man, someone in the back of the crowd yelled. The rest of the crowd began to cheer and chant Mark's nickname. Say that 5 times fast. After a moment, Judge Hickman began to pound his gavel and the crowd slowly quieted. Deputy Barnes, the judge said, "You have 30 seconds. While the crowd had been cheering, Mark had watched Barney's expression turn from surprise to anger and back to smugness. Mark wished the crowd hadn't given the deputy time to collect his composure. First, I want to thank Mr. Turner for bringing in this dangerous fugitive. However, I want to remind all of our civilians that confronting known felons is very dangerous and should only be done by trained law enforcement personnel. I think Mr. Turner's attempt to bring this man to justice is a perfect example of this, although the ultimate goal was achieved, at what cost?" Mark fumed at what Barney was saying. It wasn't so much what he said, but how he said it, as if Mark was some errant schoolboy. Also, Mr. Turner broke the president's executive order about crossing county lines, and while I'm certainly not going to arrest him for it, if he'd been caught by the National Guard or some other official branch of the government, he would be in almost as much trouble as the man he went to get. A few boos drifted up from the crowd. We must follow the letter of the law during these difficult times. That is what is best for all of us. We need a sheriff who will observe all the laws, and I assure you that I will enforce the letter of the law when I am elected sheriff, Barney said emphatically. There were a few cheers, but they came from a small group of hardcore Barnes supporters who were in a tight knot in front of the stage. They quickly died in the vast sea of silence from the majority of the observers. From the middle of a crowd, a lone voice rang out, "You are wrong, Barnes. Laws be damned. Just because some politician who never had a real job in his life got a majority of his cronies to agree with him and passed a law, don't make it right. We need a sheriff who will do what's right." The crowd erupted. The sounds of "that's right" and "hell yeah" were sweet music to Mark. Everyone does see through Barney, he thought. He looked up on the stage and saw Barney shrink from the jeers while Rob stood straight and proud. He reminded Mark of the painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. Rob would be the new sheriff, it was obvious now, and he would be a great leader for the county. Mark, despite the trials and tribulations he'd recently experienced, was jumping with joy on the inside. In fact, it was all he could do to keep his enthusiasm from overflowing and publicly displaying his elation. Judge Hickman's gavel struggled to quiet the commotion. It slowly became its opposition, and finally the judge was able to ask for the next question. A young man stepped forward. "Mr. Bowers, you've mentioned the group that went with Mr. Turner down to McMullen County to bring back a fugitive from justice. Did you go with them?"